Hello. Welcome back to the top of the hill in Martinez, California. Hello, viewers in the future. And who's that? Who's that? Hello. Welcome. So the front moved through overnight. I guess it's snowing up in the mountains, but it's a beautiful sunny autumn day here. There, the birds are singing. Xandar is looking at anything that might be about in the yard. I thought he was going to go to sleep. He just had his breakfast a little while ago. So he should be getting ready for a nap. Oh, there he is. He's looking back at me. Hi, Xandar. He is a funny guy. Of course, you can hear the birds. There's those trees way up there on the ridge. Hawks live up there in those trees. So I'm going to just read a quick poem because it's Saturday and why not? And again, we have this wonderful book, Great Story Poems. And yes, I'm going to read this one. Let me turn. This is a great poem by Lewis Carroll, The Walrus and the Carpenter. This was one my dad really liked a lot. Let's see, where can I set this camera so we get something to look at while I'll just hold it and read. I know, we'll put the camera on Xandar. There he is. Okay, there he is. And hopefully I can be heard. Can you hear me okay out there in Streamland? I'm going to think that you can. Okay, Lewis Carroll, 1832, 1898. Charles Lutwidge Dodgson was a child prodigy, interested in mathematics and in literature. Before he was 12, he wrote plays for marionettes. For most of his life, he taught math at Oxford. In 1865, Dodgson wrote Alice in Wonderland to amuse a young girl he had befriended. This book was published under the pen name of Lewis Carroll. Originally, it was regarded as a child's story, but was later recognized as a masterpiece of satire. The Walrus and the Carpenter appears in that book as one of its many ironic and seemingly nonsensical episodes. We'll let the loud plane go by. There's an airport, a small regional airport in Concord, Buchanan Field, so sometimes we get sounds of air traffic. It was amazing back in March and April during the height of the pandemic lockdown, and there was like no air traffic. It was so quiet. There was no air traffic. There was hardly any automobile traffic. It was so quiet. Hi, there's Xander. He's cleaning. I bet he's getting ready to take a nap pretty soon. Okay, here's the poem by Lewis Carroll, The Walrus and the Carpenter. The sun was shining on the sea, shining with all its might. He did his very best to make the billows smooth and bright, and this was odd because it was the middle of the night. The moon was shining sulkily because she thought the sun had got no business to be there after the day was done. "It's very rude of him," she said, "to come and spoil the fun." The sea was wet as wet could be, the sands were dry as dry. You could not see a cloud because no cloud was in the sky. No birds were flying overhead, there were no birds to fly. The walrus and the carpenter were walking close at hand. They wept like anything to see such quantities of sand. If this were only cleared away, they said, it would be grand. If 7 maids with 7 mops swept it for half a year, do you suppose, the walrus said, that they could get it clear? "I doubt it," said the carpenter, and shed a bitter tear. "Oh, oysters, come and walk with us," the walrus did beseech. "A pleasant talk, a pleasant walk along the briny beach. We cannot do with more than 4 to give a hand to each." The eldest oyster looked at him, but never a word he said. The eldest oyster winked his eye and shook his heavy head, meaning to say he did not choose to leave the oyster bed. But 4 young oysters hurried up, all eager for the treat. Their coats were brushed, their faces washed, their shoes were clean and neat. And this was odd because, they hadn't any feet. 4 other oysters followed them, and yet another 4, and thick and fast they came at last, and more and more and more, all hopping through the frothy waves and scrambling to the shore. The walrus and the carpenter walked on a mile or so, and then they rested on a rock conveniently low, and all the little oysters stood and waited in a row. "The time has come," the walrus said, "to talk of many things, of shoes and ships and sealing wax, of cabbages and kings, and why the sea is boiling hot and whether pigs have wings." "But wait a bit," the oysters cried, "before we have our chat, for some of us are out of breath and all of us are fat." "No hurry," said the carpenter. They thanked him much for that. "A loaf of bread," the walrus said, "is what we chiefly need. Pepper and vinegar besides are very good indeed. Now, if you're ready, oysters dear, we can begin to feed." "But not on us," the oysters cried, turning a little blue. "After such kindness, that would be a dismal thing to do." "The night is fine," the walrus said. "Do you admire the view?" "It was so kind of you to come, and you are very nice." The carpenter said nothing, but cut us another slice. "I wish you were not quite so deaf. I've had to ask you twice." There's Sandar. Here he comes. Boom, boom, boom. "It seems a shame," the walrus said, "to play them such a trick, after we've brought them out so far and made them trot so quick." The carpenter said nothing, but the butter spread too thick. "I weep for you," the walrus said. "I deeply sympathize." With sobs and tears he sorted out those of the largest size, holding his pocket handkerchief before his steaming eyes. "Oh, oysters," said the carpenter, "you've had a pleasant run. Shall we be trotting home again?" But answer came there none. and this was scarcely odd because they'd eaten every one. Xandar, what did you think of the poem? Really? Which character do you think was more sympathetic, the walrus or the carpenter? Really? Xandar, you'll never be an internet sensation if you always look away from the camera. Well, I'm happy to see all you folks who tuned in. That was nice of you. And thank you to the intrepid moderator of my scopes. You rock. And yes, we'll get this camera off of Xandar. There he is. Hi, Xandar. Thanks, everybody. Xandar. Oh, you're gonna criticize the book? Huh, big guy? Hmm? Say hello. Say hello, Xandar. Okay. Everybody have a nice Saturday, and look forward to visiting with you all again soon. Thanks everybody who tuned in, and thanks again to the future viewers of this scope. Xandar and I hope you have a great day, don't we, Xandar?